seeing the Bund where the Oriental Pearl Tower and Shanghai Center cheer for the LPL teams here at Worlds 2017. Wonderful to see that stuff here. Welcome back, of course, to Game 3 of Royal Never Give Up from the Chinese LPL and SK Telecom T1, reigning world champions coming out of South Korea's LCK. It's going to be a fun one, of course. This has been quite the match so far. A pretty solid win coming out of especially the bot lane of RNG in Game 1. Kind of map-wide, though, SKT took over Game 2.
I'm kind of at this weird point where I kind of want Galio to be banned in Game 3 to see what else SKT have. Both games felt like Galio comps. Game 1, unsettled by Mlxg, having a great performance. Game 2, more room to breathe, well executed by SKT. But is it just the mid-game comps anchored by Galio for SKT? And what more do they have in the tank? It's kind of where I'm at as we're about to hit Game 3.
I'm definitely curious for something new as well, Papa, because you know, FLICKR has played the most unique champions in mid lane of any mid laner, you know, at Worlds thus far. He's tied for #1, so let's get a little bit deeper there and see what else he can do. You know he's got some extra ones.
And of course, if you talk about FLICKR and SKT, you have to always talk about Uzi on Royal Never Give Up. The bot lane has always been an interesting place to be. You look at what's happened so far this series. It's been Twitch both times where Uzi had a lead in Game 1 via ganks, but Bang & Wolf, with a lane composition, smashed Game 2.
I mean, Bang & Wolf winning lane against Uzi and Ming is a mini story of its own, given Bang & Wolf's woes in recent time. They picked for lane. The Varus was a movement away, specifically for Bang, and they executed very nice.
They definitely did. As well, it took some openings from RNG, because when you're looking at all matchups, every single lane, you have this jungle factor, right? Yep. And the Nocturne, you assume the early ultimate is gonna compensate for that bottom lane and try and prey on the over-pushing of the Varus, of the Leona, this aggressive matchup. Yes, it can win lane, but jungle is supposed to be the counterbalance for matchups like that, and it wasn't there. The Nocturne never punished this Leona flashing forward. It never punished this Varus with no flash on bottom side. Yep. And RNG absolutely crumbled there.
We'll see if they can stand for this one now, and if the picks and bans change much, Xayah still removed from the table, even though, again, we saw SKT not go for the champion in the previous game of this series. Janus off the table, though SKT just removing the hyper safe support picks. Looks like that bot lane style will continue for SKT.
My read on this is that RNG are looking to first pick a jungler because they don't want to take one half of Xayah or Rakan, which are kind of priced in to do, and not give it away as a duo. So I think Jarvan was a very likely first pick for them if available.
Saw the Sejuani worked for them in the previous one, but certainly you're right, Jarvan could make a lot of sense. There's the Gragas ban, and we know those top 3 junglers are going to be available now. Again, the Sejuani, the Jarvan, Gragas off the table, of course, as we mentioned.
Tristana and Galio as well, so many of the same power picks rotating and floating around here. This time it is going to be RNG first to the grab bag here, and we'll see if they, again, make the same prioritization and just let the Galio go back over to SKT.
Galio, Sejuani are the 2 left available here. Galio with no Janna available, I think, jumps up even further in priority. We know RNG can play it. So far, they've really been focused on the Sejuani for Mlxg, and they go there again.
Especially since the Gragas is also banned here, you're going to go even further down the tier list. Yes, you know, Sejuani is good to get into Gragas anyways, but you really have to wonder if Blank is going to play something like Zac again, or will he make one of those other swaps over to the Rek'Sai?
This is basically the same pick ban as Game 1, the only major difference being Lulu was banned by SKT instead of the Janna now in this one, but if it repeats itself, it's Lulu Twitch instead of Janna Twitch in this one, which last time around was answered by a Blitzcrank, assuming the Triss does finish being locked in here, but that seems incredibly likely for Bang.
I think your read on a mid-game focused jungler to complement with the Galio is right. I'd love to see Blank's Lee Sin, as in 2017 we started with Peanut Lee Sin, undefeated, Peanut the Lee Sin god. Blank was actually a lot more effective on the pick as the year went on, and given that the pool is dwindling, it's an option for Blank, who's been very focused. We looked at the picks for both junglers. It was basically Sejuani, Gragas, or Jarvan, and none of those 3 are available.
Especially with the fact that FLICKR once again gets Galio. Mid and jungle is how you control the early game. And if you combine a Galio, a FLICKR Galio, who has been shoving the wave and roaming from level 2 all the way till he gets his ultimate, with something like you talking about, Papa Smithy, with the aggressive pick for Blank, that could very well be SK Telecom with a dominating early game.
Another game could certainly be good. Taric, not the most significant bot lane laner so far. Tristana has been really good so far, but wow, Vayne coming through again in Uzi. They've dropped one game this series at 1-1. They decide to go somewhere else. Gonna leave the Twitch on the table, and immediately again, it's Zac, the priority jungler now for Blank.
Really interesting stuff. Going for the very early Vayne here. The bot lane focus will be the same, but SKT opt back into the Zac, hoping to avoid the pitfalls of Game 1's early game.
Let me tell you though, it is hard to hit a Vayne if you are a Zac player and the Vayne has eyeballs, because
And a mouse.
Can confirm, has
the
eyeballs.
shadow's gonna appear and Uzi should be able to get his way out. So it's gonna take multiple points of pressure for SKT to really force Huni or force Uzi into an area where they can actually pin him down. So that may be one of the reasons for this Vayne pick. It is that short range champion and doesn't provide great sieging for pressuring that game, but it is very mobile for the team fights, which RNG have focused on and are doing so once again.
The only stuff to watch for are the instant tagging things in team fights. If Uzi's in auto attack range, FLICKR is always in W flash range. If Uzi's in auto attack range, Blank can Q anything and then flash auto Uzi and he'll pull him back in. There are tools to immediately and uncounterably pull that Vayne back in, so it's going to be tight to get around this.
And I want to zoom in on pick ban where we're at now, because we're looking for SKT to add a support and a top laner. SKT had to invest last pick on red side multiple games in a row against Misfits to counterpick support. The Braum, the Tom Kench that won them so many advantages. They can counterpick support at this pick and counterpick top lane, and it potentially really set up their draft. They're just going to go for Lulu, so hitting the tier list, getting another knock-up to potentially hit onto the Vayne in the Lulu.
And that's really the funny thing, is we've seen so much priority on Lulu. She's a great defensive support, but you're right, she's also a great enabler for the front line. If Zac lands something, then Lulu lands her ultimate for free as well.
Someone's going to land something, surely.
It's almost a guarantee at this point, and so it still allows Wolf to play the aggressor. Of course, yes, we're going to see Ardent Sensor, we're going to see all that fun stuff as well, but certainly it does allow them to keep playing that hyper-aggressive style in fights.
And you talk about ranges here, Freak. If Uzi's getting in there for auto attacks on Vayne, you can save your polymorph for that Vayne, and that's a targeted ability, which then makes the chaining much easier. As we talked about, the setup is going to be very important for this.
Some of the matchups we've criticized in previous games, Ryze into Galio, for example, has been on the losing end multiple times in this tournament. RNG have a very robust team fighting setup, but again, SKT will be looking just like game 1 and 2 to play through the early game. Maokai here is also susceptible. There's a lot of picks you can take into it, and the Camille is a decent one for sure.
The Camille won before. The only thing I want to maybe caution is SKT are on somewhat of a one-threat team. Again, Camille can certainly deal damage, and obviously they won with Bear's Camille in the previous game. Tristana probably even higher top-end damage, so it's worked from before. They can certainly do it again, but Fig continues to be on tanks. Seems to be okay for them.
And they do also have this combination of the Hextech Ultimatum and the Hero's Entrance from Galio to guarantee an initiation on one member. That member is Uzi, to be clear. No way to cancel that out when you get enough duration on the ultimate as you get levels on the Hextech Ultimatum. So even though split push Camille is the first order of business, the backup team fighting is there with this particular solo lane duo.
This will be a fun game to watch. The styles continue to evolve, and we keep seeing what these teams think they want to bring out. What's the optimal strategy to go against these players? You have to imagine SKT have not scrimmaged against Vayne much, if at all, in the last several months. And
She's been popping up so frequently this tournament.
Three picks?
I actually think, that to me, for range, that is
players.
significant.
That's fair. Well, either way, if they're ready, they're ready. It's going to be fun to watch for. I don't think many people really expected Vayne coming in, but you're right. If they suddenly saw it and started preparing, then all good to them on this one. Coaches shake hands for one more time. Game 3 about to begin. Who's going to be on match point after this one?
That's the great thing about this tournament here, Freak, because you say, what should you expect? Should you be expecting a Nocturne jungle? Should you be expecting Vayne picks like that?
Leona Blitz?
Should you be expecting Fervor Leona?
No.
Well, yes, you should. I think that at this point, you should.
All right, well, styles continue to evolve and push forward. We'll see what comes out of this one as Game 3 is ready to go. Tied 1-1. RNG and SKT both took reasonably convincing turns winning. And we'll see what comes out of this one. Ryze, Vayne, not a lot of range on this squad, but certainly damage output is there if they don't get stopped.
And you're talking about getting stopped. My big worry here for the RNG draft is that Predictably, Ryze is going to be pushed in. The Vayne lane is going to be pushed in. Camille has some decent trading options in the early game against the Maokai. This really does feel like the sort of game where if one turret goes down, say bot turret goes down, Berserker's Greaves, and BF's Sword Tristana starts rotating, RNG don't have a lot of options to actually get to the late game 5v5 fights they dream of. It was Mlxg unlocking that potential with great pathing, with innovation in game one. I actually think Mlxg needs to have a performance on that level. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward what SKT are going to try to do.
Yeah, Mlxg and again Xiaohu, the mid laner here. I have grown an irrational hate for Ryze at this tournament.
A lot of people have.
I really have not enjoyed watching this champion. But if he can make some skirmishing happen on his 1 items, on his 2 item power spikes, and really show me the light, then I'm still open to being converted to the school where all the mid laners have still really preferred Ryze, and they really want to make use of the creative ultimates. Are always fun to see, but I do need to see some of the skirmishing in the mid game come through.
And I feel like we've had very clear reads on what the good Ryze situations look like. Remember when it was Jarvan Ryze from SKT against the mid lane Karma with TP. You can understand that playing through that lane is possible. Those sort of ganks, say the Rek'Sai Ryze or the Sejuani Ryze onto the Galio, that's the part where you're like, wait, you don't really have early game options. He's immensely tanky from level 2.
Very early on in the game, Mlxg looks like a solid 7 seconds faster in his clears so far. Red buff picked up by both. Blank moved over different camps, though, grabbing the Raptors himself as Mlxg goes towards Wolves in the buff.
And once again, I think Mlxg here on the Sejuani has the option to go for that level 3 gank. Maokai and Sejuani can combo very well in the early game with the amount of crowd control and base damages. It's actually fairly threatening as a 2 versus 2. So Huni, he was the victim of that last time around on Gangplank, and he should be very, very well aware and ready, for any type of top lane focus.
And if there is the top lane camp, which is certainly still possible with the targeted route coming through from the Maokai, notice that in bot lane, the execution-heavy combination with the Blitzcrank is not there this time. Tristana, Lulu are very straightforward in getting turret damage and not being interested in playmaking, so the reliability of answering top lane pressure with just turret pressure in bot is very straightforward.
The mid lane, FLICKR gonna not take a knockup, but will get rooted up. Bit of damage coming across, goes back to the knockup, but he's not in turret range, but FLICKR still really liking this trade. No permafrost quite coming through. One more auto could have meant a chunk of damage. Now, where is the jungler?
Yeah, exactly. When a mid laner plays like that, you have to think FLICKR's got Blank right behind him in his back pocket. Because it is a Zac even early in the game, they're thinking, oh, maybe he's coming over with an elastic slingshot, but FLICKR's just going for that return trade to get some health off the jungler and kind of reduce his threat.
Nice drink at ward. All right, they see each other. They both know what's going on. And looks like no harm, no foul. They walk right back out of this one. The flash forward. He's going for the big play. One more attack. Xiaohu heals. One more hit. First blood of the mid lane. And it's an execute because there is no damage dealt. Worth it in all chat.
I'm not sure if that's going to be what I was looking for to convert me to the Church of Ryze.
I believe, Kobe!
But he definitely pulled out a huge play. A solo kill onto FLICKR on the world stage.
And the Dazzle flash in the bot lane. They're targeting Wolf. Condemn is here with the TPs to join. And that is FLICKR completing it to meet into the bot lane.
So they had Zac pushing in mid lane. Bang and Wolf had the option of taking a back here or just controlling the wave again. So no cost there. They don't lose minions in mid.
Ooh, that was a bit close now. Mlxg takes some damage walks away. He hasn't backed yet, so it shouldn't be much of an issue, but is starting to get out-farmed by Blank, who's a full level ahead right now.
FLICKR a bit perturbed after the mid-lane incident here. He's coming for his Raptor camp now.
Good smite, actually. Blank grabs that one. The stun could be landing. The taunt in there as well. And not quite the damage kill on Blank, but now with the jump, they have this one. Huni might TP to save him. Will they do it? Cell Division is popped, running out of health, and who's going to get the kill on this one? Xiaohu, 300 gold richer with a blue buff.
Mlxg holding on to the permafrost till he was channeling his E, meant no way out, even with flash for Blank. The cheers start in the crowd. Nice skirmishing from RNG.
The full Chinese crowd behind Xiaohu right now. He flashes in, then he gets the heal move speed. All he wanted was one last spell. And since FLICKR never got any return damage off,
what? Flash it on me? Oh, man.
See the second kill as well. Hard to know if there was enough mana for FLICKR to throw out a Q before. but the moment that Blank had his E interrupted, no passage safely out.
Flashed anyway.
They had pressure on top side. There was no way that the Camille would change this fight. So right decision not to teleport in, but a misfought fight by Blank.
You could almost feel the frustration from SK Telecom there on that jungle invade. And RNG able to punish them again. If any game was the game for Ryze to have a huge impact. 2 early kills here now for Xiaohu. See if he's going to get to his level 6 extremely quickly. Maybe he can start affecting the side lanes as well even.
See if he can get that move down. Right now it's only a 500 gold difference though. 400 for the first blood, unreturned, and 450 for the assisted kill means it is better farm at SKT so far. Plus 12 in the bot lane right now for Bang. And the jungle, I think, is a little bit different as well if you don't count the Mlxg assist. Here comes that first attempt at a roam. Level 6 on the Ryze, but Taric is already recalled, so you expect not to see much down here just yet.
SKT just going to be focused on the bot lane turret. FLICKR will have level 6 soon. Note that while Ryze picked up 2 kills, no one is shut down like Huni was in game 1. So while the early kills and the early disruption advantage does go the way of RNG, it's not at the cost of the base game plan of push, push, push in the bot lane.
Yeah, don't let the mid lane antics distract you from how bad of a matchup Vayne Taric into Tristana Lulu is. And Wolf and Bang are definitely taking their toll. You see them whittling down this turret. This is such a big issue because there is obviously going to be an RN sensor, built early on Wolf, but also Tristana is one of the best AD carries at making that BF sword swap after the bottom lane turret is destroyed up into the top lane. So this bottom lane toll is actually paid by the entire team in attacks later on in the game once the switching comes through.
I mean, all RNG want is a 15-minute laning phase, a Rage Blade and Ardent Sensor, the turret's still up. That's winning the lane for Vayne Taric, but it's so unlikely with Galio in the mid lane, with push pressure and roam pressure. Some damage coming in from Xiaohu, but the kill pressure's going away. SKT's game plan is so reliable.
Yeah, you say that's all they want, but that's a lot to ask for. Here comes Blank though, mid lane.
The taunt hit confirms the knock. If this could be enough damage, Let's Bounce brings him right into the turn. The knockback there as well. Perfect coordination for the SKT duo, and a kill comes through to Blank.
Lane gank from Zach, and that's a big one that gets them rolling. They can roam bot lane, although FLICKR is out of mana. You're right, Kobe. It is a lot to ask for. The laning phase may be over pre-10 minutes. Blank goes for a little bit of a bomb into the mid lane.
But damage back and forth, not a huge issue. But you're seeing now SKT suddenly 400 gold up in this game. The bot lane still not able to get much. Yeah, Dazzle's cute, but doesn't do that very much here. Now Blank looks for some deep pressure. Says, never mind, I'll just put a ward down.
Yeah, one of the things that you always look for as a jungler, after a successful gank, especially on something like mid lane, when you push the minion wave in, it becomes a choice for the enemy jungler. Either they're going to have to go soak up that minion wave and reveal themselves on the map, thus giving up pressure in their jungle, or, they lose out on the minion wave completely and they try and keep themselves out of your vision. But SK Telecom, because the choice was made by Mlxg to go soak up those minions, takes the opportunity to get deep wards on both sides of RNG's jungle because of the success in mid lane.
And the ward on the blue buff is so important because the longer it is there, Sejuani is bot side, because her first job, if she goes to the top side of her jungle, is to get the blue buff for Ryze and help the Ryze push in against the Galio, at least match the wave clear. So the longer that buff stays up, the pathing is pretty straightforward for SKT to dissect.
Looking at the blue buff right now on both these sides. The junglers here, the mid lane is coming by as well. Xiaohu right now has the inside track, looking for this play as Classic slingshots right back out. No vision right here. It's not the brush, but a nice smite. Mlxg combos it well. But now FLICKR sees Xiaohu, gets the knockup, trades in a bit more damage, and the taunt actually turns into basically nothing. FLICKR just lets it go immediately, walks away.
Yep, it looks like they canceled the call for the 2v2 there. They have enough respect for the Sejuani, especially post level 6 here, and the Ryze duo. Definitely fearsome. Bottom lane getting pushed in by RNG. Means that Uzi as well can roam.
We talked about that extended laning phase dream. It's kind of happening in the bot side. There's been no backs. There's no one-item punishment to match the one-item power trough, going for a pickaxe into a recurve, sitting on a recipe, and also the blasting one. So the longer RNG and SKT stay in parity in bot lane, the more it really does help out the Vayne, who has just now backed for the first time.
One of the biggest, beneficiaries has been this bottom lane because, as you talked about so many times, Papa Smithy, the the Galio in the mid lane, such a big facilitator, could be the next straw here that breaks the camel's back and blows open that bottom lane turret. And once that domino falls, that's where you see the lane swaps coming in. But there's so much pressure on mid lane, they haven't found the opportunity.
Here comes the big play, the flash to stun up FLICKR. The rest of the team not going to come through just yet as the TP does come in for Letme. Oh, Bounce brings it back in. FLICKR's been stopped. The ulti not quite going to land, but the rest of CC is still going to cut through. FLICKR running for his life, but no summoners to save him now. The rest of the chase should be just a formality. And Uzi shows up crucially. 4 assists to give the Vayne a kill.
Thank you for the Rage Blade fund. That one is going to come in for Uzi even quicker now as he roams up on the Vayne in time to get the last hit and still back down to the turret in time for the cannon minion.
Yeah, there's not really any punishment from SKT. They couldn't push the bot lane in fast enough. Camille was pushed in and too early for there to be a Tiamat just going to be rushing towards the Trinity Force. You notice Blank gets the read very early because you see the duo come in. Blank could jump anywhere. He quickly realizes teleport's coming in. Taric and Vayne are going to win the race to pick him up in the mid lane. It's going to be 5 members and only FLICKR.
Yeah, the early teleport here from RNG. They know they have the advantage from the top lane because Letme has quietly been doing his job there on the Maokai and had the teleport advantage. Fully orchestrated and well collapsed there to continue to attack FLICKR. Going to the source of the global, something we've been saying for 7 years and is still very much viable.
But notice, we normally talking about Shen with no wave clear. Galio has the wave clear, so tanky. You don't normally see that being a winning style. In the bot lane, the turret's almost down his mid lane.
Looking for winning out into the mid lane, though the hard CC going to be landed and chained together. Look at the burst, a crowd on Xiaohu, forced to run away. Does get knocked up, good aim by FLICKR. The rest of the team coming across, gets the shield, tries to one, he will just get out of range. Someone to heal, buys a bit more time as he looks to turn it back in, but don't know if they have the damage to knock down FLICKR. Mlxg still in the chase, pops the ulti for him, but a nice top by some time. Blank back in, another shield comes through with the Ryze. Do you believe he stays alive?
I am thoroughly enjoying these 2v2 spin!
And they're gonna knock him down, do you have to believe it? No, they can't quite get the damage. Yes, they do. Will it be another? Not just quite, but the turret turns to the cell division, but can you respect Galio's damage up? But now Wolf, he's hunting. He smells blood in the water. Lulu. He's okay. Ryze gets out. SKT 1 for 0 in that one.
I'm glad we could all enjoy that together as they were fighting down to, double-digit HP there from all sides, and SK Telecom slightly ahead in the execution. Meanwhile, now they can reap the rewards. Invade, get deep wards again, steal away the red, and Wolf even gets some free time to supplement with more wards.
And then switching the battlefield to top side, pushing the Maokai and taking Rift Herald is the next step, but suddenly we got a half step here, guys.
4 versus 2, no turret to hide behind. The TP stop, but it's still 3v2. Turned invulnerable, buys a few seconds to knock him there, but Uzi's trying to stay alive. The barrier in, he's still surviving, and now he's turning it around, looking for Blank, looking for the chase down now on the Bang. Pop the ulti stun, gonna land. One or two of them in, but FLICKR gonna join, flashes forward. They won't quite catch up Blank, but now it's the Galio's turn to get the damage across. Shields coming in, and they can't find the kill. And Uzi to get his second 5-2 RNG.
And now they can push on this bottom lane turret. They can try and get the objective afterwards. It's RNG making the push.
The fans know it. It's such a big turning point. Letme interrupting the teleport led on to everything that happened there for SKT. Sure, they could have another global, send in the teleport from FLICKR, but all the damage was not there, and they were not able to cement the kill onto Uzi.
Just like you alluded to last game, Papa Smithy, Letme quietly doing his job in the top lane on that Maokai. Yet, two of the biggest moments in this game enabled by that Maokai.
On paper, perfect move from SKT. Notice Letme still does not have teleport. Big teleport advantage from Huni, looking to cement the lead, kill off the Vayne, and from there, the damage really fell apart for RNG. But the interrupt was so critical, and then things fell apart very quickly for SKT.
I do want to give a lot of credit to Letme. Blind picks his champion. No jungle help that I can remember on either side of that lane has been more impactful this game so far.
See the teleport coming in, perfect teleport ward put down from Blank as he bounced over, but just a twisted advance, maybe even a Q. Interrupts here, we'll see it, twisted advance, nice and easy, he was in vision. So Huni could have been more defensive on the teleport, went for an aggressive one, and then it came to this point where they just could not kill Uzi through heal and Barret.
and then they're on the chase. He knows that Blink doesn't have his passive, so Uzi was targeting the closest target there. Once he flashes out, able to kill Bang, and even though FLICKR arrives and gets that taunt off, not enough burst damage to take down the Vayne.
One rotation's not going to do it. They go to closest target. They go for this sort of fight they're looking for in the late game. It's focusing down on the front line. And SKT trying to take Rift Herald after all that pandemonium.
Looks like the team actually coming in to try to stop this, so Mlxg is showing up, and that will be a reset on Rift Herald. To jump out, looks like actually it might just be a leash from SKT's side. Rage Blade done for Uzi, that's the big spike. Double dagger towards the Shiv or Phantom Dance or whatever he wants to buy for himself next up. But this is now a Vayne who is very much online.
And Tristana, whose game plan with these double AD items and the Berserker Greaves is to just take down turrets. The defensive vision is sticking for RNG. They're going to get the Rift Herald as well. And the tempo moves from SKT to justify the draft they've gone for have not happened, just like game one.
Wanted more. No.
Yeah, exactly. RNG just want to reset there, whereas SKT are trying to delay them because they don't want to let RNG bring all of their power to brunt here on this top side. Xiaohu is on the bottom side, and they want to use the numbers advantage to grab back some turrets.
Letme wants to stand there 1v4 and buy some time. Once he comes across, finds this done, but Letme loses his life as the Maokai. The big AoE slow comes across, doesn't mean all that much. They're still running away. Blank, actually, you've got to be kidding me! Drops down to the turret. I didn't think it was possible, but Mlxg finds himself the kill. The re-engage that mid, but I don't think Huni can beat Uzi 1v1.
Mlxg threaded the ult onto the Tristana, and once again, no damage from SKT to actually force a kill. They just want the turret, but RNG have bought time, and they're also getting the free farm on Uzi in the mid lane.
A huge lapse in judgment there from Blank. He doesn't have the cell division to rely on, no passive available still yet. On that cooldown, in RNG, even with Xiaohu on bottom side, got a counter kill up on top. Let's take another look at how it started out. Letme gets annihilated early, but Mlxg is here.
The turret is the major objective, but the damage is largely Tristana cannot do anything while stunned. FLICKR is first tanking up. Another interrupt into the permafrost, threading the CC perfectly. Sometimes we see Sejuani use everything at the same time and lose out on duration and also those passive procs. Very nicely threaded by Mlxg.
Yeah, on second look there, Blank kind of gets left out to dry as he's stuck under the turret when FLICKR flashes out, and turret aggro immediately switches over.
Yeah.
And then he gets, victim of Sejuani crowd control combo there.
He did have flash. I agree, it's hard to say, it's hard to blame him for it, but either way, doesn't get out, and now Blank found once again, jumps away with a little bit of let's bounce, pops the ulti, looks for the jump away, and is going to stay to safety, but loses two big cooldowns to the privilege.
This don't control that jungle cleanly, and bot side, we're seeing another aggressive move made.
The forced flash, yeah, Huni was not going to survive through a twisted advance, and the rest of CC had to use that.
With a draft, with Tristana Galio making a proactive play mid and bot lane at the same time means that SKT have lost all control over both sides of their jungle, and they're going to lose their mid lane turret first as well.
And we've talked so much about timings in Champs, so this is the timings where RNG are thriving. Their tank line on the 2 tank items feel extremely good. Ryze here had such a good early game, already with the Abyssal Mass and now level 11, ready to exert his will. He basically bought time for Uzi to get this Rage Blade on Vayne, and RNG are looking to take advantage of the map.
Given the mindset to make all those plays mid lane, try to play through the Galio that most teams would look at as a movable wall, it's credit to largely Xiaohu and Mlxg, who found openings that often are not there against the Galio mid with this Ryze especially, and it reset the pressure and means that FLICKR, he doesn't have a CS lead. He's died multiple times, and when he's made big plays around the map, he's been caught largely because he's not as tanky as he was, hilariously so, in game 2.
Plus the thought here of RNG, if we talk about the composition and them trying to cover weaknesses, whenever you see 2 carries paired as Ryze and Vayne, the initial reaction that Freak is talking about, and the problem with ranges is very much there, especially for those team fights, but layering Taric in there to try and cover that and grant them the immunity to actually use those ranges and get in there could be the opening. That being said, you really have to have a very high level execution to play around the Taric ultimate, and we have seen teams fail at that if that's their main win condition.
No, Phantom Dancer done. Even easier for Uzi to 1v1. Again, I don't think Huni actually wins the battle if he finds himself in a duel here. You wonder who can actually knock down in this one. 0-0-0 so far, hasn't gotten his way into the game yet. Only 3 kills for SKT. Baron spawning in 12 seconds. They know Taric's a good Baron killer. Vayne is the same boat here. And a slow push Rift Herald to the top lane. I don't think that Herald's going to die, so that will be top outer dying right as mid falls to the push from Bang. The expected job of that Tristana. Yeah, that will die to a single push, and well, no one's stopping it. Goodbye, Turret. Meanwhile, fighting the top side, looking for Bang. They rid him up the chase 40, blast the safe to it. One more shot, I'll do him in. And Xiaohu finds it. FLICKR now a missed 4. The push is in. Do they have the damage they need to kill him off? The chase continues in, and he's not going to be long for the world. And they're invulnerable under the turret. That's going to be number 3. So the vision be damned. They will get the damage. You've got to believe it'll happen. A double kill for the Vayne for Uzi 4-0-2.
And again, such intelligent shot calling here from RNG. They know they want to abuse their item power spikes right now, so they drop the Rift Herald top as a distraction and run straight through mid.
This seems unstoppable now. Who's even going to block this Baron kill? It's Huni on a Camille just running away, taking Krugs as a secondary
Rift
prize.
Herald from ages ago. The Rift Herald's actually still alive. They're going to get the big brother of the Baron as well.
Sub 21-minute Baron pickup for almost 5,000 gold lead.
RNG had finished Phantom Dance and meant they were never going to control waves. They had to choose the right fight. This one was crisp.
Easily able to chase down Bang there. Uzi goes with the ultimate. Out of the knockup there from FLICKR, then re-engages, and they chase SK Telecom back to their own fountain.
And the moment the Bang dies first, you can hold the Cosmic Radiance for the turret dive because you no longer respect the damage from any source other than the turret. So they hold on to it, they can pick up the Zac through cell division. I love it when a team itemizes for a specific purpose and then executes on it instantly. They could have gone shift, they could have gone into the Hurricane and tried to wave clear. They were not interested in wave clear.
FLICKR and SK Telecom stopped Uzi in 2013. They stopped them just last year early on in quarters. But this time around, Uzi is coming for that final spot, and they are making a hard push here in game number 3 to make that happen.
It may be a historic matchup, but RNG have never taken 2 games in a best-of-5 over SKT. To go up 2-1 would be history being written.
Well, we've seen the 2-1s be turned back before here at Worlds. You can never count them until they hatch. But RNG hoping to count those chickens all the same, pushing into the mid lane, looking to end it with this Baron push. Sub 23 minutes to stun the back line. Bang jumping away. The wave's gone in the mid lane. They got to buy a little bit more time.
During this time, Huni is split pushing for SKT.
They bring in Letme. He's kidnapped to the back line. No but's trying to put him in the fountain, though, buying a bit more. And now onto the turrets a little bit longer. The Cosmic Radiance buys a few more seconds as well. As FLICKR taking a lot of damage forced away. Turret number 1 falls. The health bar's getting a bit low, but they've got to respect this. There could be a 5v4 because Camille is still pushing. Huni is still answering the siege from RNG.
Xiaohu brought in the minion wave to try to finish the game, get the turret, because the split push continues. Here's the turn.
The flash re-engage. Can they kill FLICKR because Camille is not stopping? They will knock down the mid lane. Unstoppable. Uzi is himself. And Wolf is going to be skinned as well. Here's the teleport now. Huni needs to keep his team alive. 5 versus 3 to win the game. To go up 2-1. Uzi on the fountain. Flashing away, getting away from Huni. Looking for the damage up, but can they get rid of it? Yes, they can. No one left to stop them. RNG are a single game away from making history.
You can see the look on Bang's face. He is devastated. RNG once again against this Galio comp for the 3rd time in a row have those small timings, and just like SKT in game 2, RNG exploded the game. One single team fight with 2-item Uzi. That passage of play, it ended the game.
No hesitation from RNG on that Rift Herald play. They drop it at their secondary turrets and immediately make a beeline towards mid lane. Bang with his head in his hands because he knows that pick on him in mid lane gave them the entire power play for this game.
Very few teams in the world can say they beat SKT in under 24 minutes. RNG can add themselves to this list, and now 2-1 up in this series. Double match point to stop the legacy of SKT winning every world championship they ever attend. They are on that precipice of absolute greatness.
And I feel like SKT, it's time to abandon the Galio. RNG aren't going to ban it. 2 out of 3 times they tried. Galio, Zac, they tried to make the tempo plays, but it fell apart in this game, much the same as it did in game 1. And the game ended in one passage of play before the items could ever get there for the Tristana.
Well, beautiful stuff out of RNG so far. Double match point for them. We'll see if they can finish the dethroning. But first, let's talk to our analysts.
Thank you very much. Gonna have to get my hearing checked after this series.
Goodness.
This crowd, this stadium, loudest crowd I've ever experienced in my life, as they are one game away from watching RNG take down the defending champions SK Telecom T1.
And Dash, when we were watching this draft, and we were watching them not get Janet because it's banned, because they early picked Vayne with Taric while Lulu was still up, because they picked Ryze into Galio instead of Malzahar. We thought it was over and that SKT had broken RNG in draft phase. So the fact that RNG won in 23 minutes blows my mind. That game was insane.
And it's literally the most classic LPL thing I've ever seen. They throw away the draft. I was literally head in hands, this is over, there's no way RNG come back from this, and then they just start winning all these skirmishes and all of these trades and forcing the fights and just outplaying their opponents. And I'm still sitting here like, I'm like a proud, disappointed
My heart is
parent.
still pounding.
Proud and disappointed. Quite the combo.
How dare you draft yourself into this hole and then outplay it anyway? You're like, this is great, this is fine.
I mean, it is crazy to think that they're giving up a 4th pick Lulu as Taric Vayne into Tristana Lulu, and that was okay. It ended up working out, right? And I do think, similarly to how we talked about that 2v2 in the bottom lane, I felt that this game again came down to the bottom lane, and it was actually the dive where Huni had his TP interrupted, where that goes bad. That's where the game, to me, started to turn around. But it's crazy how these games really are coming down to this one play.
If that's where you think it turned, let's take a look at it, because it all comes down to execution, right? Throughout this tournament, yes, we've talked about the importance of draft and tracking the way the teams will adapt to each other. But hey, on the day, this is the comp RNG decided to play, and they played it perfectly.
And the big thing there is the teleport got interrupted. Otherwise, Uzi is dead 100%. But because he's not, the Taric ult saves enough damage on Uzi, he can pop barrier and he can start turning this one around.
And I mean, the crazy thing is, they're counting on that TP coming in so much. Blank is walking in with like 30% health.
Flash forward.
Yeah, and I'm going to give some credit to Jat right here. We were watching this draft, and he actually called the Vayne pick. The Vayne whisperer, if you will. And the thing is that if you're AD carry, if Uzi is saying, I have the confidence, give me the Vayne, because we're now learning how much more the players are interactive with this draft phase. It's exactly that play there, why Uzi has the confidence. You're a game equalized with SKT, you're looking down the barrel of Tristana and Lulu, and you're like, Vayne, that's fine.
And it usually costs them when Uzi gets in that mindset. You can tell by the way he's speaking to his coach that he's going to get what he wants, and he did. But I do also want to point out that this game was an example of why SKT plays around Huni rather than the other way around. Because early on in the game, we were expecting Tristan Lulu to break that turret in 7 minutes. They didn't, because Huni teleported back to lane at 5 minutes, which gave RNG the teleport advantage, and it meant that Trist Lulu couldn't push. There, in that clip we just saw, he got his teleport interrupted, which gave Uzi yet more kills with which he could transition. So Huni's poor use of teleport really cost SKT in the early game here.
But they obviously have so much confidence in him. Even when you're looking at those late game plays, they're deciding that we're going to try to give Huni all this gold in his side lane, get him those couple turrets, and that's our way back into the game. They didn't have confidence that they would actually win this game in a 5v5 team fight, and that's why I feel like they made that game-ending call to try to hold 4v5.
And we'll get into Game 4 in just a moment, but before we get there, I want to stop down and take a moment to celebrate the level of play that's taking place on this stage. We have to remember we're in the semifinals. These are the top 4 teams in the world, some of the best players in the world, and there was a very distinct moment in this game, 2v2 in the mid lane. It just was so exciting to watch. We got to watch it again.
But who has the courage to go toe-to-toe with SKT in the mid lane 2v2? And it's Xiaohu and Mlxg. Welcome to Shanghai, SKT, because we do this all the time in the LPL, and this play showcases why they're so comfortable doing it.
Yeah, well, Xiaohu had heal and flash, ends up baiting the heal, but this ends up getting turned around for SKT because they still have a lot of ability to outplay in these team fights. FLICKR's timing of the tauntament to get the damage reduction in the exact right time extends this fight long enough that they can then turn around on Mlxg, who ended up over-chasing FLICKR.
I mean, it's the body block by Blank there as well to prevent another spell coming through on the Ryze. It's the fact that Xiaohu had the confidence to hold those 2 summoner spells as long as he did to pull them in for the counter gank. Everything in that executed pretty much perfectly by these 4 players on the world stage in one of the biggest games of their lives.
And we're seeing so many myths dispelled throughout this series. The fact that Galio is being given away, that Ryze is being picked up, no longer getting the criticism that they've had this entire tournament. How dare you pick Ryze? How dare you let Galio go? Both these teams are fine to do that.
Yeah, Galio 3 games in a row, but now we're kind of at that moment again, Dash.
We're at that moment.
It's an elimination game for SKT. Isaac mentioned at the start of the day, they are 7-0 in Worlds elimination games. Last week, they were down 2-1 to Misfits, won the next two. They bend but don't break has been the motto. The question is, were they broken in that game?
All right, I got some info for you. SKT coming back in on blue side, and
Peanut?
Peanut will be subbing in. Now, we've already talked about the statistics around those elimination games, but SKT has to put back-to-back wins together here to take the series. How do they do it?
And the big question to me is this reactive to the draft? Because we've been seeing blue side Gragas bans for RNG. They're trying to put you in this kind of tank versus an inferior tank matchup. And Peanut is a guy who, yes, this year he has been on the tanks, but he made his name for himself playing carries. Do they have the confidence to let Peanut fly? Do you bring him in and say, great, ban out the Gragas, take the Sejuani. We're going to put him on a carry champion. We're going to put him in a position to snowball the game early and see if he can do it.
You might recall Olaf games from previous Worlds.
Lee
He's
Sin
racking
games,
up
the
the
Elise
kills,
games.
things like that. It's a really good question. Where do they index now if 3 games in a row they've been putting resources into Huni and only won one of them?
I want to kind of combine these two ideas. I agree. I think you let Peanut off the chain, you give him more of a carry-oriented jungler, but you prioritize the 2v2 top jungle matchup, and you start throwing Peanut and all of the resources that go with him into Huni's pocket, and you double down on what got SKT to this semifinal, which was a split push performance by Huni.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting that blue side has won all 3 games, and that's
a good point.
There has been close drafts, and execution has decided that. But one thing blue side has had more control over is which jungler they get, and we've seen poor jungle picks on the red side all 3 games. Zac, and Nocturne have been on the losing side these times. So what I want to see from RNG now that they're back on blue side is that was correct.
No,
right?
no, SKT's on blue, RNG is on red.
Sorry, Zac. With SKT back on blue side, I want to see fewer jungler bans by RNG, so they get a power pick jungler, the Gragas, the Jarvan, or the Sej, on the rebound after the first part of the draft happens, because I do not want to see them starved in jungle picks again.
I mean, spotlight on the jungle matchup then while we watch Peanut get set up. It's an unusual position for him to be in, the one subbing in for Blank, who was the starter.
It's just such an enormous amount of pressure, right? And hearing Peanut speak in some of these interviews, you can tell that the pressure is getting to him, that he has lost some confidence in his own play. He's unhappy with how he's playing, and this would be such a momentous comeback for him to be able to come in, reverse sweep, not reverse sweep, but come back in this series and actually capitalize on some of this momentum.
It's the Bengi. Bengi comes in when you're down 2-1. That's the SKT. Peanut had it done to him last year in the semifinals by Bengi. He's got to do it now.
You got to live up to that. That's hard to do.
Yeah, Peanut has to diversify himself, though, and show that he can do exactly what Blank did, which was download the opponent's jungle pathing. And he's looking at Mlxg, who's probably the most random jungler to ever play the game.
I can feel the excitement coming off of these 3 right here. Royal never give up, are 1 win away from bringing down SKT. See if they can close out or if the champs can tie the series after the break.
Can't know what MLX
I don't know what
is
happens.
doing.
This one, the flash forward. He's going for the big play. One more attack. Xiaohu heals. One more hit. First blood of the mid lane. Looking for Blank. Looking for the chase down now on the bank. Pop Yogi's not going to land. One or dual mid, but Fang are going to join. Flashes forward. Chase continues in, and he's not going to be long for the world. And they're invulnerable under the turret. That's going to be number 3. So stopping them. Knock on the mid lane. Unstoppable. Uzi is himself. And Wolf is going to be skinned as well. RNG are a single game away from making history.
If you want to follow the best of the Rift, then you need T-Mobile, America's best unlimited network. We doubled our coverage so you can stream Worlds in more places than ever before. With T-Mobile, don't miss a moment from the first battle, all the way to the lifting of the Summoner's Cup. Another reason why T-Mobile is America's best unlimited network.